Support for 100 Watts in a Wire is provided by Bioenno Power. If you're looking for a power solution, check out Bioenno Power, offering the best lithium phosphate batteries for your ham radios. Visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOW.com. LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. An LDG desktop tuner works automatically with nearly any station and up to 1,000 watts. LDG power tuners are ideal for portable and mobile use as they consume almost no current and can be powered by internal batteries that last up to a year. LDG tuners are backed by our 2-year, fully transferable warranty and our legendary customer service, the best in the industry. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
And now, from Grid Square Echo Mike 48, this is 100 Watts and a Wire.
Well, hello and welcome to 100 Watts and a Wire. My name is Christian. My call sign is Kilo Zero Sierra Tango Hotel, and welcome to our Saturday morning live show. This is our community live stream. It just so happens that it is also a podcast episode where the folks in our chat room can participate. And a question for our friends in the chat. This show we're going to be, among other things, we're going to be talking about reasons, or the best reason perhaps, for somebody to get their ham radio license. Why is it, maybe, that you got yours? Joining me here today and live, as usual, Sidecar Steve. I saw a new photo, Steve, of us when we were traveling through... what was it? Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. We were going in circles as usual.
It was a roundabout, and we were leaning into the turn, and I didn't know they had photographs of that. But there's traffic cams on every corner, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you want to see that photo, it is now in the Discord for 100 Watts and a Wire. We've done lots of racing together, and people say, why do you call him Sidecar? Sidecar Steve? Well, back in the day, I think it was, I don't remember the year we started racing, but about 1956 here. You see Steve here with the strong right hand, and me behind the, you wouldn't call it a wheel, but behind the number 8 there on our bike. About 1956 for our friends who were able to watch this. If not, you can go back and look at it. But Steve with the strong right hand, and going through D.C., we actually got Steve up in the air. I leaned in and we got that car up going. You got to make the move. Who uses blinkers? Okay, that you couldn't do that. What's going on with you? This is the intersection of life and amateur radio, and a good time for us to catch up just a little bit. I feel slightly out of the loop. It's like I missed a couple of days, but I missed them for a really good reason. I went up to Chicago. Luckily, and crazily, it was warmer there than it was in December. I hear that January and February can be a real bear. Pardon the Chicago Bear unintended pun there, but man, it was nice. It was cold. Bears. And I went up there to see one of my music heroes. Been running with these guys since the early 90s, and Eddie Vedder has released a new record. Came out on Friday.
Nice.
And he played with
Excellent.
a band of musicians you may have heard of, but a mixture of, in the band, Glenn Hansard, the great Irish singer. I love him too. Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers as a bass player from Jane's Addiction. And it's just a rock and roll show. So I've been with Eddie since the early 90s. So I believe in giving an artist leeway. If I'm in and I really dig what you want, if you want to go off and experiment and you want to, this was not Pearl Jam. This was Eddie and a few friends taking the time to get together. They put a record out. They backed him up. Great show in a great city. But man, I felt like I lost a couple of days. So you were talking about solving a problem in Discord with one of our friends. But how was your week? How was your week, Steve?
It was a pretty busy week. I got some spring cleaning done at radio sites, which was kind of nice. We've had a a complete change of weather. It was just unbelievable. We hit some 60s. As you know, we've been pretty well buried in snow for back in January, and it just pretty much all that snow is gone. But the weather's been nice. It's a muddy mess. So my work truck was just one big mud bog, and got that cleaned up. And so it's been kind of nice to kind of clean up sites and be out in the sunshine.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I'm slipping all over the place. I'm tired of it. I'd rather deal with a little soupiness and muddy boots right now than that ice. I'm just tired of that. The folks who join us, of course, the subscribers of our podcast hear everything that comes out. This is the live show, so we can engage with you during the chat. And I if you did not participate, we put a question out, usually each week on Facebook, asking some aspect. What do you think? You know, it's not about Steve and myself sitting here and just barking at you, which doesn't matter. You know, we'd rather hear what you have to say. And we do. And last week on last week's show, we had, I believe his name was Jason. He had an issue with a coworker, and it's been posted up now. Of course, you can listen to it, but you can also watch that clip if you want to, about a coworker giving him a hard time about his hobby, right? So it's up there. And this question sort of came out of that, basically asking our community, what do you feel is the best reason to become an amateur radio operator? It seemed like Jason was a little confused of, how do I defend? And you were like, you don't defend, you know? And I said, you stab him in the eye because I'm from Baltimore, and, that kind of, but those were jokes. But I thought, maybe it would be good to hear from our community to, what is the reason that you would give? What would you guys say? And so they did respond, and we're going to share those. But I want to open an invitation for our friends who are in the chat today. What is it for you? What is the best reason someone should get their amateur radio license? Put it in the chat. Producer Scotty is around here today, and he will look for those and share them in just a little bit. Some good feedback.
A little bit of a follow-up on that one.
Yes, go
Jason's.
ahead. Go ahead.
So working in the telecommunications, land mobile world for the last 40 years, myself professionally, I've had a coworker that he just kind of, I'm not into amateur radio. I'm a professional radio technician. It's like, okay, that's good, Jim. That's awesome. And, harangued me a lot of times over the years. Well, Jim retired, and guess what Jim did? He got his ham license.
Did he?
And he is all over. He went full in, both feet, and he's an extra today and enjoying the hobby. And I ran into him one day at one of our ham fests and asked him how it was going, how's retirement treating him, and everything. And he was just telling me how much he is enjoying the hobby and wish he got into it sooner. And I just kind of went, well, at least you got into it, now. So, but I wanted to kind of dig back, and I was like, you remember all those times you gave me a bunch of crap for being a radio amateur, and now look at you. But no, we embraced him, brought him into the hobby, and so
the point was kind of like, who gives anybody a hard time about what they want to do with their time? It's kind of weird.
Exactly. Hold your head up high, and enjoy your hobby. Set a good example, and sooner or later that little seed was put into Jim. And now it has blossomed into a tree.
It's hard. I think the hardest part is for folks to figure out how to reach these new hams. And we're going to be talking about this over the next couple of weeks. This show may lead into like the technician type discussion, where we know that there are so many technicians, more technicians, I think, than any other class. They just don't convert over. And that's not a problem per se, but it is... it's something that we can't seem to turn a corner on, and I don't know. Various people do different things.
That's the hard part. Yeah. Do we always encourage people to upgrade? I do. I always encourage everybody to upgrade to extra, no matter what. Whether you use those privileges or not, it's it's up to you. But some people, they don't want to go to extra, and I kind of feel bad that I, kind of needle them a little bit and just like, but no, it's just my enthusiasm to see someone get to the highest level in our hobby. But people, if you have your technician license and you're satisfied with it, excellent. Like I always say, this is your hobby, and don't let me or Christian tell you how to run your hobby. And but we'll kind of needle you a little bit and encourage you to explore the areas that we enjoy. And
we're just selfish. We want to get you on the HF side of radio. That's we want to get, and we can find you, but it might be easier to find you. So you're welcome. If you have a question, we do have a form, but you're welcome to put a Q in front of your question. That way Scotty can find it easy enough, and that'll be cool. And we'll try to get to all the questions a little bit later today. So Q in front of your questions and your reasons for, getting your amateur radio license. And Steve and I are going to go and share some of the things that came up in our community. So Marcus says he got his for fun. He can take his radio backpack and talk to people, do contests, parks on the air. And it's funny, Steve, that this became, I said, it was almost like what would be the best reason you would give? And the best reason people would give is why they got theirs. So it is a little interesting. It's a self-reflection almost, unintended. But it's like, this is why I got mine. I don't know why you would get yours. But anyway. So taking it out there and doing some things and being self-sufficient. So we kind of have a sprinkle of emergency situation, knowing that you can perhaps communicate, which is the reason I got in. Steve, you want to talk about why you got into?
For my career. I was a young punk-ass kid.
Yeah, I know, that's right.
I got really... and I got interested in electronics and radio, really fascinated. And... I had a shortwave radio and even a VHF radio, and I started coming across 2-meter repeaters and listening on HF, and I go, that's cool. And I was hooked ever since, and 45 years later, here I am. But
still learning.
Still learning every day.
And still a punk ass. So still a punk ass. You can't take the punk ass. Yeah, you can't take you can take the kid out of the man, but you're still a punk ass. No, just
a grumpy old punk ass.
Just a grumpy old punk ass.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
Oh,
get off my lawn.
JB.
JB.
Knock it off, JB. Lots of reasons, but emergency communications, I would say, it's Kilo 8, Oscar Bravo, Bill. So we will see a good bit of that or hear a good bit of that. Max says it's fun. You like fiddling with gadgetry?
Gadgetry.
That's a tough word for me. And learning about technology. So that's good too. That's, I don't know if so many people come to it from different angles. People like they're builders. They like to tinker. They like to solder. They like to do... and some of us just like to communicate or play with antennas. There's so many layers to this onion. It is kind of interesting. I don't know if you'd call me, I'm more of an antenna builder more than let's be an engineer and build the box type of deal. But, to each their own, that type of thing. Dan, best reason is experimenting. He loves building, whether it's an antenna or gadget or transceiver. And let's see, George, more communications and absence of commercial power. And, we did talk recently, Steve and I, and he had a couple of really nice reasons, Steve did, of things that can incorporate ham radio into emergency situations, even if we may change or evolve in a different capacity with emergency communications. But there is a big part of this that being self-reliant, self-sufficient with communications is a big deal, too. Even if we're not all going, hey, it's a team of 20, we're going to go over and we're going to help over in India. Even if that's not the case, we can actually help here and help our community here. So I think we're seeing a good bit of that. Let's go back up here. Joe, he's very simple. The sheer fun of making friends all over the world. November 9, Juliet, Charlie, Quebec. Friendship, it might sound trite, but I mean, that's really something, man. We've been saying here lately, you have to find your people. Wherever it is, you have to find your people, and kind of making friends that think the same way you do. That's a big effing deal. So, hey, try it or not. That's a good one. You made some lifelong friends, I imagine, in this this game, Steve.
Oh, yeah. We've made some great friends over the years, and new friends all the time. I mean, here I would call more of a recent friend is our good friend Phil, and heard him last week on the on our net, and
thank
we
goodness.
haven't heard from him in a while. Thank God.
We're getting nervous.
But there, you make these friendships, and I haven't met Phil, face to face yet, but it feels like I've known the guy forever, and it's a lot of people that I know them by their call sign and their voice. So it's been a great hobby to make new friends around the world.
Yeah, sweet guy. I was so happy to see that we finally made contact, and he got you out there in Seattle, which is quite a haul from where he is. I mean, it's all the way across the world.
He was down in the pileup, and I heard his voice, and that was it. That's all it took.
His voice is so great too, and I'm glad that you made the note on Discord that a lot of the people will just pause, and we ask for it too. And people who are around the net on Sundays, 7:00 Central Time, we kick off. Usually 40 meters, depends on the year. We post the frequency up on our socials and then on NetLogger. But people will wait. This guy is a military retiree. He's in his early 80s, and he'll open it up and he'll talk. But he understands that people are waiting, and everybody waits. Nobody QRMs Phil. It's a nice, respectful.
I was just utterly amazed, and as I made my note in Discord, it was the pileup just went quiet, and I was in shock, and I was still in shock from hearing from Phil, but then seeing the crowd. And thank you, everybody that was there. Thank you so much for that. That meant a lot to myself and Christian, and it just shows the honor and integrity of our hobby, and the people that are a part of it. It's showing that respect for one of our fellow hams, which was just absolutely amazing.
And that's just the sweet tip of the apple, and that's a little thing that Steve will get because he likes to talk about apples. But this guy, if you dug into his military career, and we have a little bit, fascinating. We should I don't know if we could work it out. We'd almost have to send a technician over to his place. It's weird during COVID. He's in his 80s. It'd be hard, but I'd love to have him on just to talk about his military career, if we could figure that out. But we'll come back and talk about him in a little bit. Some more response from the community here about, reasons to get your amateur radio license. Laird, he said his sister told him, to go to a ham radio meeting and basically see what he thinks. And before he knew it, Big Sis was right. Lifetime of friendship with folks, storm spotting, working HF, learning electronics theory, and just meeting great people in the hobby.
Yeah.
Matt, he says, this is will teach you all types of communications, electronics, and computers. So we're getting into that. Let's see. Radio is a very comfortable medium for people to interact with. David says to help out in emergency situations. Dean, to talk around the world. That's really it. I mean, if you could just cue it up and show somebody what it's like to talk to somebody around the world without any connections, completely wireless,
without wires or anything,
it would really impress the young folks for sure. Chris says it's the world's greatest hobby, and that's not reason enough. Consider this: we walk in the footprints of giants. Press the key, you conjure Marconi. Send the letter V, and you not only conjure Mozart, but also the BBC's signal to Europe during World War II to listen up. Important news is coming. Key the mic, you share the ether with Cronkite, Godfrey, Hussein, Presley, Goldwater, Walsh even. So some of the more notable ham radio operators. Yep. The science is cool. The tech is sexy, he says. But making that trip to Japan, a satellite, or even the friggin' moon and back from your armchair, no less, there's nothing better than that. So lots
Nice,
of,
Chris.
yeah, that's pretty good. That's thoughtful, man. I got into my, like, in a world where MCOM is king. All right, let's go and visit with some of our friends in the chat and see if they have any reasons to get your ham radio license, since we do have a live show happening here. Let's see if we can bring up Scotty and see if he's got anything for us. Good morning, sir. Nice flag there behind you, the great state of Maryland, my home state. What's going on? Uh-oh, you are on mute. You have muted yourself.
Oh, there we go. It's
There
a
you
habit
are.
I have from work.
That's right.
Got to keep the control room mic quiet.
That's right.
I'm doing well. Doing well. Glad to be here this morning. Yes,
Good
the Maryland flag is flying.
Good morning, good morning.
Baltimore in the house.
That's right.
That's right.
Loud and proud.
Little envious of your Eddie Vedder show, or the venue here in
I
Baltimore.
know.
Is under renovation, so they had
I
to
know.
postpone.
But you were going to
most of my-
see Pearl Jam. You were going to see Pearl Jam in the big joint, which is great. We're all still waiting for that. They owe us a show here in St. Louis. Ticketmaster's still holding the money for when they decide they can get back here. But Eddie alone and with the band, man, it was really great. Just great to
Ticketmaster.
The audience is getting older, but you also get to see the a new generation of people coming to appreciate the music too. So
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good. What's going
Good
on
music,
in the
good
chat
music.
room? I see some of these people here. I recognize old Todd and Marty and Lloyd. Did they give you any reasons why people listening should get their license if they don't, or just generally?
Well, yeah, there's some general consensus with a few things why they got into radio. Let's take a look here. We got, let's see. So Lloyd was asking a question earlier about doing a gathering of the willing on in some of the digital channels, and that's the only question so far. And we got BB. Kilo X-Ray 4 Tango Quebec. He got into radio for the MCOM, which is actually a similar reason that I got into amateur radio, was kind of for the emergency communication stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, November 3, Papa Kilo Juliet. His reasons are evolving over time. So, and I can see that. You get into ham radio for one reason, and you discover these new aspects, and go, oh, shoot, I'm going to get into these other things too. K5 NAR likes the electronics aspect of it, being able to take some electronic components and slap them together, and you're on the air. And Marty, KM6 PRA, got into radio to find better ways to spend money.
All right.
And a couple
God,
more
you
questions just popped in.
All right, hang tight on
Yeah,
those. We'll come back and get
yeah.
those. All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very
Oh
much,
boy,
Scott.
we
It's so
can
nice to
spend
have
money in
somebody
this
there.
hobby.
You know, there was it wasn't even a debate. It was I mentioned it earlier that you could really spend a lot of money in this hobby. And people were like, it's not an expensive hobby. And we were all just kind of like, it is what you make it. You know what I mean? You can
Exactly.
or you cannot if you don't want to. But anyway, it's funny. And some people say they come for the ladies, you know. That's on one of the comments here. They do it for the girls. Like, yeah, huh? Speaking of which, I saw
Pick up chicks. There it is.
there it
Jason.
is. Pick up chicks. You know, it's so
That's
wacky.
awesome.
It's November 9, Mike Oscar Echo. He picks up chicks
yeah,
there because
Yeah,
And
we're chick magnets
we
with
are
an
chick
HT on our
magnets.
belt.
And funny, I should announce. Yeah, right. They're just snap right to you when you get to the Ham Fest. Speaking,
don't forget the vest and everything and all your radios.
all
and
your radios,
microphones.
and don't poke her in the eye, fellas. Not with that thing. Yeah. Well, watch that antenna. Hamvention is no, it's Hamcation. Hamcation in Florida is
Hamcation this
happening
weekend.
right now. So I'm sure the
Yes.
ladies there and the guys that are just you know, it's like a big old melting pot of the guys and the girls. I'm seeing some photos, and I'm not sure I did see a woman yet. I think that's why that's all funny, is you don't see too many, and when you do, you know. But when you hear them on the air, you know, I have to say though, I met a really nice lady, Jane, Kilo Delta 2, Oscar Alpha Papa, and she was one of the reviewers for the 30 days for the N3 FJP. You can hear her on the podcast earlier this week about that review. Smart, just really nice, very with it. Everything was really cool. Hanging out with her, and it's nice. It's just nice to see people who are rooted in radio. But anyway, that was just a little offshoot jokey joke there. You don't get too many. Lloyd, who I believe is joining us here today. Hobbies, the hobby of hobbies, guarantees there's something for everyone. I know that's right. What is this? Jules says, all the women you want and all the men you want to be your friend. Yeah, all the women you want. It's going back to that. It's funny. You can look at different analytics on the YouTube channel, and I don't get caught up too much crazy in the numbers, but it's funny to see most of the audience here is in America, and 98% male audience. You can see that. I think that's funny, but it's probably normal. Let's see.
That's
whatever.
just the nature of the hobby.
Yeah, it is. It's fine. It's like going to a Rush concert. Have you guys ever been to a Rush concert when Rush was going? It's like all dudes. It's amazing. There's maybe a girl there, but it's like, Rush concert was not a place. Dave Matthews, ladies.
Lots
Pearl
of
Jam,
ladies.
Rush, nah. They're not going to see. Anyway.
It's a dude fest.
Let's see here. Janelle, she's a transplant from St. Louis. She's out, fellow Emmy Award winner as well. She's got 2. Just like your boy. The best reason in a, let's see, is as varied as the people who make up the ham radio community. We talk about ladies. Here's one for you, Janelle. We do have a few in our community, and they are appreciated. Preparedness, service, contesting, digital, challenge, robotics. Any of these are good reasons. The best is any reason that prompts the action of taking your first test. I agree. November
nicely
Mike
said, Janelle.
5, Juliet Bravo. I like the new call sign as well.
Very nice.
All right there. Speaking of 30 days, I want to take just a second here to show you a little bit about how you can get your 100-watt ID. And you're going to want to do this because you can become a reviewer for 30 days, not just for 30 days, but you can review a product. If you go to our website, 100wattsandawire.com, and click the 100-watt IDs, it'll show you here. This is very simple. You also, you just give us your name, your call sign, your sequentially issued your 100-watt ID. We share these on our Sunday evening net. Also, our operating events that we do a couple of times a year. Very simple. And if you forget it, we even got a way that you can go there and find it. And there's a big, long list of over 5,000 people who are now 100-watt ID holders. It'll also get you on the mailing list. I've been sending out a weekly sort of reader for our community, let you know shows going on, remind you that we're here on Saturday mornings, that sort of thing. But you can get that by getting your 100-watt ID. All right, let's do a few more of these because we want to get into a couple of other topics for today, and we've got questions coming up we want to get to. And I know everybody's so busy. It's a Saturday. 16 degrees here at Game Time, Steve. What are you working with over there?
It's dropped down a little bit. We're at 20.5
20
outside, and
point.
Shack is 69 degrees.
We both have the same. I copied Steve. He did a lot of research on our weather station. He bought one, and I was in New York City, and I was like, let me get some money. And I'm like, man, I got a freaking nickel and a dime, and yeah, that'll do it. And I just gave all the money over, and we bought a weather station, and mine is showing clouds and possible snowflakes today, and I haven't heard a weather forecast, so I could be getting a little bit of it. I'm not sure. Let's see. People are going to say, well, what is the weather station? I can't see it from here. It's too dark. What is it? Ambient? I don't know. It's
Ambient. The WS290C or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I dig it. It's a good one. It's been holding up. It's just showing that we may get a little bit of snow here. We're at 16.5 degrees outside, 65 degrees in the shack right now. More reasons coming to you. He likes to build radios. That's Hans. Dale, let's see, to get rid of 5K unnecessarily. There's a guy who wants to
like
beef up
that one.
a big radio. David,
there's Michael.
another MCOM. Michael, another to meet chicks. Can't wait. Can't wait. Thank you, Michael. Can't wait for that day. Let's see. Educational hobby. Let's see. He was licensed at 13 years old. It's over 60 years ago. Sherwin. In the early 1990s, 2-meter packet radio was the only way I could get something called the electronic mail and bulletin board.
Yeah, I remember those. Those were awesome back in the 90s.
Drew said, "'Cause it's fun." Luis, one head of household should have have it for emergency communications. I agree, Lou. It's good. I don't know about head of house. Could be whoever. It's good. I'm a believer. Anybody should get it. It's just plain fun, Keith said.
I like Mike's comment there. Scroll back down a little bit. Because he hates having money.
See, there we go. This is the great debate. This is the one that got me in trouble. I said it could be an expensive hobby. And this was years ago, though, in the community. It was like, it could have been just a different group of people at the time. But, I said it can be expensive, man, because I saved up for my first radio, and it took me a while. And, of course, everything you say is somebody's going to come back and go, well, you got to do it on a, of course. But, yeah, it can be whatever you're going to make it to be. And, it can be expensive, and it can be cheap. It can be cheap, too. So it's all in kind of what you want. I think there's an underlying, I don't know if it's competition. It's not like you're going to throw your junk on the table and be like, here's mine. I always love those competitions. Like, yeah, everybody's doing that. But in terms of radio, I mean, it's kind of what are you into in terms of operating? But I think it's a mistake if you're thinking about, I got to get that because he's got that. If I got to buy that Collins line because Sidecar Steve has it, I can't do that. I can't keep up with that. He does have a Route 66 sign. I have an Interstate 95 sign. So it's kind of, but that's cheap. I just stole mine. I don't know where he got it.
Hobby Lobby.
Hobby Lobby. Yeah. Let's move over here. A couple of things we should probably mention here, Steve. Let's see if I can move us over to this. There was some news today it came out this week that Bob had passed. WB4APR is now silent key. Lots of people are reporting about it. The ARRL has reported about it. And just a really impressive guy. If you don't know, it's Bob Bruniga, right? Is that how you say his name? Bruniga?
Something like that,
Bruniga, yeah.
Bruniga.
Bruninga. He was a Whiskey Bravo 4, Alpha Papa Romeo, senior research engineer at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. And in early 1982, using an old Apple II computer, he developed an HF tracking system for the U.S. Navy that was sort of the ancestor of what would become APRS. That's the automatic packet, not position, reporting system. And so I figure, in his community, there's a community based around, and he was in this community, and they would, he would be there. Very impressive man. Did a lot of good things. What's your understanding of APRS and its usefulness? I did hear that he didn't even license this. He wanted all amateur radio operators to have access to this. What are your thoughts on his passing?
Oh, it was one of the things that kept packet radio alive. As it was brought up that in the early 90s. That was one way of getting into bulletin boards, and it was the early digital mode as far as involving computers, the new PCs that were on in the market, and Bob just kind of took it and repurposed because packet, keyboard to keyboard packet and bulletin boards were starting to kind of wean a little bit as the internet started picking up. And I think Bob kind of kept packet radio going with APRS. And he was involved in a lot of standardizing the frequency because every area was different. Where do I have, keep my radio on to transmit my packets. And so he was involved in getting the 144.39 as the de facto frequency for packet, APRS. And I think there was a UHF frequency also. And that just kind of involved, and then some simple messaging was developed with it. And I think Bob was kind of the guy that he held the glue, and he kind of brought it together, and then with his talents, just made it the way it was what it is today. And I think APRS is one of the reasons why we're seeing more STEM students and high schoolers or junior high schoolers doing balloon launches, because it's the perfect medium to track a balloon. And with a little APRS transmitter, and you launch your balloon, because back, before APRS, you launch your balloon, you just you put a card on there and kind of hope someone would send it back. Well, where did it land? Well, now you can watch it track. We had that one balloon that I think circumvented the globe 2 or 3 times, and it was tracked for the most part all through APRS. So,
Bob was constantly stressing that APRS is not intended to be a vehicle tracking system, hence the emphasis on P in the APRS being packet versus position. A very impressive guy. He got his MS in electrical engineering at the Naval Postgraduate School. He went to Georgia Tech for his Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering, U.S. Navy Academy, and as a senior research engineer and instructor, from 1983 to his present, toward the end of his life, I imagine. I believe he was dealing with cancer for a couple of years and
Yes.
COVID on top of that. But his non-academic stuff, U.S. Navy engineering, duty officer, 1970 to 1990. He wrote the author of APRS, different certificates, all sorts of stuff. Professional engineer in Maryland. He's from the great state of Maryland, my home state as well. And he was an amateur radio licensed since 1962, private pilot. Impressive guy and a loss to our community. We all aren't just sitting around, goofing off. There's some really bright minds in amateur radio, and it's nice to highlight them. And thanks to him in his contribution to amateur radio. All right, and another
being
one.
he didn't want it for tracking vehicles and stuff. That was probably the biggest user of APRS is to track vehicles. And we have members here in the 100 watts and a wire community, professional drivers, and they use APRS. And if you want to find out where your friend is, they're calling what SSID they're utilizing. You just can go look them up on the internet and see where they're at. So it's a great tool to track. In fact, when my wife travels to the Midwest, I'll put an APRS tracker in her car, and we have her call sign programmed, and the family can watch her as she makes her way, from state to state to state. So it's a great tool. And so thank you, Bob, for developing that.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Another one we can take a look at now. Luckily, though, we haven't lost this gentleman, but that's Bob Heil. Mr. Heil is stepping down from his ownership position. He's still going to be with Heil Sound. And boy, he's been so much, so important. Every head must bow, I think, when you start to think about audio and his contribution. These are the new owners of Heil Sound. They are Steve Warford. He's the director of operations, and the president and CEO, Ash Levitt, will be taking over. Bob's still going to be hanging around. He's not going anywhere. He's going to, but Bob is 80 years old. And so, let's just have some fun at this point. He's done so much for the hobby. But for me, I am most impressed with his contribution to live sound. Now, I showed him, you may not be able to see this book. He signed this for me in Dayton one year, and it says, to Christian, keep it in phase. It's kind of dark here. I think there's a word. I'm missing a word there. Give me some light. Yeah, keep it all in phase. Keep it all in phase. Best, Bob. And he said, "Where did you get this book?" I said, "Do you know who I am?" You know, I was just joking, like, because it's old. This is a really old book, and it's one of those things. Practical Guide for Concert Sound. You can find it, pick it up, get him to sign it. But I have it. And I've shared it with the technicians that I work with. And just, sometimes you need somebody who's been there. The work that he did with The Who, to be able to move Roger's voice to different corners, Quadrophenia, you know what I mean? The Grateful Dead, so many others, the Eagles. His contribution to sound cannot be denied. And of course, he's a ham radio operator, and he basically gives all the credit to his success in his career to amateur radio. So long may you run, Bob. I certainly appreciate what you've done for the industry and this great hobby. He's going to get out of the way, and that's all right. I think he's done enough. But it's been since what? I'm looking at 60. What was it? I had the notes here, but it was from. Let me get it. I can find it. I want to give you the right information. 1966. 1966, he started Heil Sound. So he'll be there. He's going to be founder and CEO emeritus, and he'll design for the ham radio market. You got your start in this world as being his technician, isn't it? I'm teasing here, but yeah, you were a roadie.
I'm his roadie. Yep. So
that's how I met
Dayton.
You.
So if you after presentations or even at some of the other ham fests, you'd see me coiling up the cables and putting everything away and help setting it up, and so I became Bob's roadie. And, so to everybody, Bob has not retired. He's not. It's Sarah has retired from the business, and but Bob hasn't. He's just taken a different role and allowing the succession of the company and to move forward. So Bob is still very active with developing, for us in the amateur community. So we'll be seeing some new and improved products coming down the road.
Yep. Keep on going. Keep on pushing, Mr. Heil. K9EID. Not too far from me. Must be time to have a visit and go see him. He might have a little bit more time on his plate. All right. So I want to get into some of the questions now. Questions have come in. You can put a Q in front of a question and put it in the chat. We also have a form that you can use. Send it to us anytime, say during the week, whenever you like. A couple of questions have come in, and Steve and I will try to tackle them as we can. Let's start here. Why is it some people call it 80 meters and some call it 75 meters? That's Bob.
Typically, 80 meters is the CW portion of the band. So 80 meters covers from 3.6 megahertz all the way up to 4 megahertz. And so how it became that way, I think it's when you get into the voice portion of the band, to the upper end of the band, it's closer to 75 meters is the wavelength. And so it's kind of a simple way of differentiating the band. It's like, I'm going to be on 80 meters. Typically, it'd be more down in the CW portion. If I'm going to be on 75, it's going to be more on the voice side. So, but yeah, it's just a couple of nuances there. But if we did the math, we'll probably find, the upper end of the band closer to 75 meters and the lower end closer to 80.
So you may say, I'll be on 75 meter phone.
Yeah.
I say that, because you're not going to find me on the CW portion, but okay. That's a good question, though.
Not today. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. I'll be in there just agitating. Blip, 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 blip. I'd be like, oh, no, not him again.
Fist.
There's a couple questions that have come in, and I'll share them as we go. But let's see. Why do we cling to words like Elmer that require explanation and inspire thoughts of crusty old men? Well,
Because
Gary,
we're stuck in the past. We're stuck in tradition. And it's something, but Elmer is not that old. I think it was in the 50s that it came, or was it not? Yeah, 50s or 90s. Or I know we did cover it back in an old episode, but it's just there's a lot of tradition in the hobby, and we just stick with it, and it's part of that, as I call ham speak, and we use cue signals on the air. We say 7-3 instead of best regards when we end a conversation on the air, even on voice, and that's a CW shortcut. Mm-hmm. But we just cling to the tradition, and so Elmer became one of those. And yes, you have to, when people scratch their head when they go, "Oh yeah, my Elmer's helping me," and they're like, "What's an Elmer?" Mentor, and just leave it at that. So I guess it's a way to differentiate our hobby from everybody else's.
And we need to cling to something. We need to have some things. Mm-hmm. And especially with the older generation, that is what they use. We can adopt that. Everybody wants to change things. There's so much change going on around us. I, for one, won't be trying to change your mind and your opinion about any of this stuff. You know what I mean? It's not for me to change it. I remember one year, I don't know if you'll remember this, Steve, but there was a time where this great debate over 73, 7-3, 7-3s, 73rds, and people were like, mm-hmm. you can't. I stopped saying 7-3 for a year, literally. And it was just because it was making people crazy. I say 7-3. And I guess I heard that, I'm a product of what I was hearing at the time and my Elmers and my mentors. So it was 73 or 7-3. Some people that I like very much say 73s. Some people think that's redundant. And so it became this thing. And I'm like, how about I just say goodbye for now? And I think a year on the air, I didn't say 7-3. It was just because it was like, you're crazy. You guys are getting crazy. I think we need to stop trying to change people's mind a little bit. Hold on to these traditions because this generation is falling off and it's kind of like our thing. There's nothing wrong with it. You can call it a mentor. It's not like you have to say anything. But just because somebody wants to doesn't mean it's wrong. And you think of crusty old men, Gary. I don't know. I don't think of that. I mean, what are you doing thinking of crusty old men in the first place?
No, I had a friend on the air that, and I've run into him all the time at Dayton, and he would always refer to 7-3rds, and it was like I never went back to correct him or anything. It was like, hey, that's your style of operating. Good on you. But yeah, there was people just losing their collective minds over that. And it was 7-3s, and it's like, okay, so what? It should be 7-3, just singular, not plural. Right. And I'm like, oh, who cares? Just the thought of it, and it's like best regards. Be on your way. Don't worry about that.
When we're in the position where we would like to have more people go from being a technician into, we got to stop fighting among ourselves, talking about crazy stuff. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. The whole thing about telling people how they have to do it always annoyed me. And it was probably you that coined the phrase. I don't know. It maybe came out of somebody else's mouth, but it is your hobby. And if you're not breaking any laws and you're operating in the FCC guidelines, have a good time. Who cares? I don't care what you say. So that's not to attack Gary here for this question, but it's tradition. There is a tradition, and let it be. Just let it be. How's that? Okay.
Excellent.
We'll take one more, and then we'll go visit with Scotty, who had a power outage, and find out what's going on with him. What are the benefits of the G5 RV compared to a vertical? He's got a high gain 18 AVQ2, better transmit, more dB. Jason.
It's basically the same on dB. They're both standard antennas, so 0 dB gain. So they're unity gain antennas. For the most part, the difference is one's vertical, the other one's horizontal. So polarization. So you've heard me refer to takeoff angles, and that's your signal, the angle that your signal takes off, and a lower your angle, your takeoff angle is, the longer or the more DX you're going to have. If you want to do NVIS, where you want to take advantage of high angle takeoffs for short range communications, you can't do that with a vertical. You have to do it with a horizontal. And so for takeoff angles, height above the ground is a big factor with horizontal antennas. Verticals, you don't change it. It doesn't change. Even if you elevate it and you have your counterpoises elevated also, the takeoff angle is going to stay the same. It's going to be low. And so you'll see, if you see how the expedition stations are set up when they go out on some rock or island out in the middle of nowhere, they use a lot of verticals just because of that takeoff angle. And two, it's easy to set up. But so in a nutshell, to wrap this all up, G5RV horizontal, takeoff angle is going to be depending on how high you get it up. The vertical has low takeoff angle, so you're going to have better DX, not so much as far as local. Gain wise, they're the same. So it comes down to what you have, what you're working with as far as your location and what you can put up. So gain wise, they're the same. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks,
Good
Jason.
question.
All right, we can pull up Scotty now. We got some time. Maybe we can find out what's going on in the chat, if anything at all. Let's see if we can get him up here. Can I just say that how dirty you sound when you say takeoff angle, longer DX, and the higher you get it up? It just doesn't sound.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are your quotes. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking to myself, he's like, you get longer DX, and the higher you get it up, and a good takeoff. And I'm like, Jesus, this is getting a little graphic here. But hey, that'll make the YouTubes. That'll get it on the YouTube. What happened over there? You getting a little power thing going? What's happening, Scotty?
Yeah, it was all of a sudden everything went dark in the shack, and then about 10 seconds later, it all came back up and everything rebooted. So got logged back in, and I'm back. First, I have my laptop here. I'm monitoring the chat on my laptop, so that's running on battery power. So.
Oh wow, you really are on battery power. Well, that's nuts. Well, we don't want to keep
it was just a laptop. Just on a laptop.
No,
the power. The mains power is back up, but I was able to keep monitoring things on the laptop because that's just floating on its battery. But yeah, not much. Everyone's kind of planning on what they're going to spend their tax return money on as far as ham radio goes. A lot of discussion on it being the expense that it is, and finding better ways to blow their money.
Yeah,
and what's available. That's the other thing to
right.
kind of circumvent the supply issue. So
yeah, no kidding.
Patrick, I saw a picture. You put something in the chat there from Patrick, Solo Travel Adventures. What's his thing? Can you get that?
Oh
fast?
yeah. That's I gotta go scroll back up. He was asking about where my chat.
I don't have your money. First of all, Patrick, I'm not paying you back.
He's curious on you guys' reaction to the announcement from the ARRL of a new worldwide digital contest and for non-RTTY modes, which I think is happening the first weekend of June.
I think that's great. It was about time.
Yeah, no kidding.
We have all these modes, and it was just, we got contests for every mode, but why haven't we had it for those modes like PSK 31 or more of a keyboard to keyboard mode? And RIDI contest has been around forever. So I think it's a great way, and there's people that their hobby revolves around the digital modes, and why not bring them into give them a little competition. We like competition, and so why not? I think it's about time. So I think it's a positive. I know the haters that hate contests are going to get their panties in a want. The haters going to hate, but it's like, it's only one weekend over the course of the year.
I have a new t-shirt idea. Haters wear panties. Sidecar Steve. Haters
their
wear
panties get in wadded.
Got it. Okay.
Haters have wadded panties.
I learned so much from him every day. I did not know.
I'm going to write that down in case there's a power failure. I'm not going to type that.
You're going to, you don't want to leave that. Don't let that be the last thing that they find of you. Haters wear panties. Sidecar Steve.
No, wadded panties.
Who the hell is this Sidecar Steve?
Yeah, who the hell? Who's he running with? Todd asked, isn't the high gain more efficient on, say, like 15, 10, and 12?
Could be. Yeah, probably. But, the G5RV was designed for 20 meters. So that's where it's the most efficient. It just happens to be usable on other bands. Okay. So
just taking a moment to say hello to some of our friends who did stop by today. Our podcast listeners who are listening to this in post, as we would say, or listening to it on your ride, on your wherever, your trampoline, whatever it is you do, just have a good takeoff angle and whatever else Steve made sound sexual to me. It's so weird. I need therapy. I think I'm going to call for a therapist today.
Pastor Joe.
It depends on how high you get it up. Yeah, where's Pastor Joe right now? I need to be grounded right now because my takeoff angle may not be at the right. But hello to Mark. Hello to Patrick and Todd, of course. Kevin stopped by today. It's good to see you here. Podcast listeners, you're always welcome to join us Saturday morning. We've hit a nice pocket, and it was because my family was doing something on Saturday morning, and I needed to be the daddy wagon. My youngest now is doing something different on a different day, so we're recording a show here on Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock Central. Of course, we get on the air Sunday evenings, 7 o'clock Central Time. We're on the HF. Who else can I say hello to? I see Ben is here today. I still need to find a home for that, the dog calendar. We'll call it that. I mean, this is already. You can hear the podcast players tuning out now. They're just like turning off. I can hear them in my head.
Enough. We're out.
There goes the crap talk again, and Steve's takeoff angle.
It's getting stinky in there.
Yeah, it's not good. Hello to David. Good to see you there. Whiskey Zero Tango Kilo X-Ray. Let's see who I missed. Private Nombre. That's interesting. Hello to him and all our friends who came by today to hang out with us. What did we miss here? What did we miss? I feel like I wanted to touch base on something, probably forgetting about something. Check out the N3FJP logging software 30-day review. Actually, a little longer. We had Jane, Brandon, and Dean. Dean, much like Sidecar Steve, is a first responder. He, the evening we recorded that, he had to send in his written evaluation of the criteria there because he was actually working out there saving somebody's lives. Ben says to hang the dog pooping calendar in the shack. That's a hard no. That's a hard no. I feel like I'm violating them. You turn it over and it's November and old boy's doing it and he looks at you like, come on, man. He's got that look on his face like, it's privacy.
Got the grunt.
He's the calendar pooch. Come on, let's recognize him.
Timay here is also, he's in from Finland, I believe, unless I've screwed that up. He says, hello and happy Valentine's Day. And that reminds me that I'm deficient. I need to get myself together on the Valentine's Day. So guys, work that out if you haven't yet, like me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So check out the N3FJP.
Nice. See, okay. Now this is love right there. Marty's going to HRO.
Yeah.
It was a Valentine gift.
That's romantic.
Nice.
That's
brother.
romantic.
And what I remember about that relationship is that Marty was the one who was a little tighter than Rosa, so to speak. Is she wanted the ham radio gear and he was reluctant. Remember that? She was like, yeah, I want this and this. And he was like, oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, do that. I got my HRO calendar, first one ever in the mail. And it was just really exciting just to see what's going on. I always get DX Engineering one. But it's nice to look. They got everything. Well, I think we did it, guys. I think we fooled them again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We
Our
appreciate
buddy.
you guys for coming and spending your morning with us. We'll do it again next Saturday. As the guys on 75-meter phone, see what I did there? We'll say, as long as the, God willing, and the creek doesn't rise. Is that it? I think that's the same.
God willing, and if the creek don't rise.
Or
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
Sweet Mother of God and the creek don't rise. We'll be back here next Saturday to go with you. My thanks to Scotty for hanging out. Kilo Charlie 3 Bravo X-Ray November. He's in there, and he's got a new track. Did you hear the track, Steve? It was playing.
Oh,
He's getting
like that
royalties
track.
from the show. Listens to the show, makes
Yeah, right.
absolutely no money now. It's like he's like, yeah.
I'm not seeing a penny. And everybody, I'm not seeing a penny.
Okay, he gave us a generous piece. Listen to this.
Well, shit.
Oh, get your takeoff angle right, baby. Brings back my
So
DJ.
wanky.
Come on now.
Guitar noodlings.
So take care of yourselves. Get it up high, girl. I don't know what the other one you said was, but my takeoff angle is right. Scotty playing us out. All right, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And if you can, by all means, please try and stay above the noise. 73, y'all. Take care.
7-3, everyone.
Bye-bye. 7-3.
To join the 100 Watts in a Wire community, visit 100wattsindawire.com.